Hi everybody, Craig LaMere here, Moss Studios. This month my article is about a 2-light setup that I use a lot. And the 2-light setup is super versatile. It's basically one light directly over the subject's head and the other light positioned in different places, and it's used as various roles. In one light setup it's used as fill, in another light setup it's used as the main. And the same with the light overhead. And that's why it's so versatile. If I want to create something really dramatic, what I'll do is I'll take a 7-inch reflector and I'll put it directly over the top of my subject. And what that does is it just lets that light come all over them. It fills in all the nooks and crannies and it becomes super dramatic. The key is you have to use one of these grids. If you don't use a grid with this, it just throws out too much light and you don't really get the look that you want. And also it becomes far too bright because light's everywhere. And so what this little grid does is it lets you pinpoint the light and direct it a lot better. The only thing that happens is, depending on your subject and some other stuff, you could have a lot of clipping going on because it is so contrasty and the light isn't really going very far other than exactly where you've placed it. And so that's what that second light's for, is it's really a fill light. And there's no right or wrong to it. If you want to clip out your images in certain parts, cool, go for it. But if you want detail in those shadows, you need to get some type of light to throw it back. You can't really use a reflector for this because there's not enough light because it's going straight down to reflect anything. And so for me, I'll use a strip light, or I'll use a beauty dish with a sock on it, or I'll use like a 3x4 box. And it's really the taste, so I'll just fire it until I get enough fill to what I like. And we use this kind of setup for athletes, for really dramatic, cool shots, stuff like that. The other way I use that light setup is, instead of using this as the main, then I'll switch it over to a larger light source so we get a lot softer, more fashion portrait look. And my modifier of choice is my Molassetti. I always use a sock in this situation. Usually I don't use socks with beauty dishes, but in this situation I do because I want the light as soft as it can be. And so when that beauty dish is over top, that light kind of goes everywhere and wraps everything. So it's a really beautiful fill light, and it also works as a great hair light. One of the things you have to take into consideration is the distance of that light and your subject to the background. If you want your background lit up more and you want more of a bright feel to your image, then put the subject and that beauty dish closer to the background. If you want darker, more rich colors, you're going to move your subject and that light away from the background, and that will darken that up. And that's the fill light. Now your choice will be what you want to use for your main, and you really can use anything you want. Like, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. For me, in that situation, I will usually use a strip light, and I'll either use the grid or I won't use the grid for the strip light. And the reason is, if I want it to be a little more contrasty, then I'll keep the grid in, but I still have enough light coming from that large overhead light that it looks really fantastic. If I want it to be a little more soft and airy overall, I'll take the grid out, and that's how I'll shoot it. I go through and talk about a few more ways to use this 2-light setup. There's some diagrams in the article that will help you figure that out as well. So I really hope you enjoy the article and really try this light setup out. It's super easy and it really does produce killer results. Okay, I'll see you guys next month.